a very warm welcome to our special show, NPS Foundation of a Better Future. And in this show, we will tell you all about how you can retire rich using NPS and how important it is to plan your retirement. To talk about more on this, we have with us a panel of guests who will tell you how to plan post-retirement in the best possible way for a comfortable retired life. Let me introduce you with our panelists today. We have with us Mr. Supratim Bandopadhyay, who's the chairman of PFRDA. We have KK Singh, who's the Director, Personal Steel Authority of India Limited, Dhirendra Kumar, CEO, Value Research, and we have Santosh Navlani, who is the COO of ET Money. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us into this conversation. I would like to start by asking you, Mr. Bandopadhyay, that if you can briefly describe us about the history of pension reforms in India, sir, and where do we stand globally today?
Thank you, Anuya. First of all, for having me here today in this conversation, which is very close to my heart. Yeah, if you look at the pension sector in India and how it stands as compared to the global pension scenario, first of all, let me start by telling you that it is very fragmented here, the pension sector. There are a lot of pension or retirement related scheme, retirement solutions as we call it. It started with maybe EPFO way back in 1952. Thereafter, EPFO added another layer by adding EPS, the Employee Pension Scheme, in 1995. Then there were insurance companies which were providing not only group annuities, individual annuities, and then deferred annuities, and they manage group funds, superannuation funds, and all that. So they started way back in, maybe if you look at LIC, maybe sometime in 1956. Then obviously the government has its own pension scheme, that is the defined benefit pension scheme that they were managing, which was withdrawn in the year 2004, and now all central government employees and most of the state governments, they have adopted the NPS, which is managed by us, PFRDA. And along with that came another guaranteed product, which is known as APY. Of course, it gives a limited amount of pension, maximum 5,000 rupees per month. But all these things are there. Apart from that, apart from EPFO, there are some specialized provident funds like Coal Miners Provident Fund, Siemens Provident Fund, and all that. So we try to get all the data. Sometimes the data availability is also not there, but whatever little data we could get, totaling all these things, we found that the total pension assets or assets related to different retirement schemes total to around about 35 trillion rupees. Now comparing it to other countries, the easiest comparison that everybody understands and it is accepted world over is what is the pension assets to the GDP of the country. So if you look at our GDP at the current conversion rate, dollar to rupee, it comes to around, our pension assets to GDP comes to around close to 15% only. But if you look at some of the Western countries and Scandinavian countries, some of the countries like Denmark, Iceland, and all that, their pension assets are twice the GDP of the country. And not only that, US, UK, Australia, everywhere, it is somewhere between 120% to 150%. So I believe we have a lot of catching up to do. NPS is growing over last 15, 16 years, and the growth rate is good. And I hope the kind of awareness we are trying to create, if it really catches up, then pension sector one day definitely will become much bigger than any other sector in the country, financial sector.
Absolutely, sir, and this is what is required, and that's what we are doing today in our show as well. It is more about the awareness of NPS is what we're also talking about here. Mr. KK Singh, my next question to you will be, sir, that what are the legal aspects of a corporate employer actually providing retirement benefits to its employees? And we have also seen that, do you really think that they benefit the employee in saving for the retirement?
Obviously, thank you for having me at this show. I'm from Steel Authority of India Limited, and we are a corporate. So there, if you see the legal framework, two classic and paramount acts are there. One is Employees Provident Fund Act and the other is Payment of Gratuity Act. So these are two which are going to help, and they have been helping the employees in long run during their retirement. Pension was not there earlier, and it has come with many administrative orders and guidelines. It has come, and slowly it is catching up. Older people were not having it, newer people are having it, and it is catching. NPS is a very good addition which employees are finding that it is good. As far as sale is concerned, if you see how to motivate people and how to tell them that you have to save for the future, the best way we have found is to have it online and a bit of compulsion, and at the same time without doing any paperwork. If you are able to tick that, okay, my voluntary provident fund will be so much, I want to save so much in NPS, I want to make EPS 95 contribution, so then they take it. Otherwise, if you leave it really optional to them, so many a times it takes years to fill a form, and then you feel that I have missed the bus.
And we have seen that a lot, sir, and we all talk about how our life would be after retirement, but only the aware ones actually invest in the pension. So Mr. Kumar, my question to you would be that how pension is a topic, sir, which is something which people rarely talk about, but what change have you seen in terms of reforms and new schemes that have actually come up and introduced in the country?
No, these new schemes or the new reforms or the new enablement, they make it easier for people to get started. The economy is, and people are very comfortable with the digital ways of doing things. It gets easy, and it is getting even easier. But let me tell you, we just might feel happy about it, but the avenues to spend, because building a pension corpus is nothing but a long-term investment. And it is postponing today's consumption. Postponing today's consumption while everybody is actually borrowing money to buy his next iPhone from his first salary is the bigger challenge. That is an impediment. And we need a big reform or big initiative on the education. Telling people, and I think COVID was a big lesson, was a wake-up call in that context. At least in helping people realize or helping people giving time to reflect about what is in store for future. And I think having an educational mechanism that hammering the basic thought that we are going to live longer. If we are going to live longer, will you have enough, or will you it will be a nightmare for people that their savings will not outlast them. If you actually live longer than your money, then living might be very miserable. And having this realization, and also in India, a growing economy, we are so we think of we look at all the illustration about inflation or the compounding, but we don't look at it in a negative way. We try to think in terms of a constant that okay, today we need 50,000 rupees to make a living, and that is the 50,000 we might need 15 years from now, and that is completely wrong. It will work in a reverse way. And maybe the complexion of your inflation is going to be very different. Your healthcare expenses, maybe many of the expenses will be gone. You don't have to worry about your child's education, many other things. But many new things has to be taken care of. And that is something, are you really prepared for it? And the starting point is that having a plan to have little more than enough. Because if you start worrying about at a time when you will have no option, you can't do anything about it. So starting, and the solution is very simple, starting early, having this realization in any form, and having the discipline. So I think it has to be very high on education, and enablement is very much there. Nothing prevents you from starting and continuing.
Absolutely. Starting early is actually the key for saving more. Santosh, I would like to come to you now that it is important that, the maximum number of people actually connect to the various pension schemes that we have seen. Which are those sectors, according to you, that actually need a lot of work?
So in our experience, the biggest impediment to adoption of retirement products is the need that people need to have in their own minds to actually start planning. Everybody actually believes that retirement planning is something which I would do probably in 40s, if not late 30s. And as we time and again realize that power of compounding actually starts to kick in early, only when you start early. Or if it starts to kick in only when you start early, and if you start too late, then people actually feel so intimidated by the kind of target amount that they have in mind that the monthly amount required to save becomes too high. So I think what is happening is the awareness levels, while they are gradually inching up, I think what is required is easier ways to kind of access these products. And I think at ET Money, we work towards those aspects where we make it easier. We understand what are the people's behavior, which are so kind of attractive to actually make them consider NPS for that matter, which is one of the possibly the lowest cost retirement product in the world, in my opinion. So I think what has happened in India is actually kind of, woken up to the concept of investing via SIPs in mutual funds for last almost 5 or 7 years. And I think if the industry looks at the aspect of allowing people to do monthly contributions for retirement in small amounts, but for long periods of time, I think half the battle will be won, because I think when you have this aspect of monthly contributions coming in, the requirement of putting large sum at one go just goes away. So I think we would look at what attracts people to some of the products which are successful in the country today. Can we look at taking inspiration from them and put into product construct? Dhirendra talked about making it easily accessible via digital. If we can make it accessible via digital, easy to buy, small to start, I think larger battles will be won for that.
But Mr. Bandopadhyay, for a lot of people, pension is actually something which is post-retirement. That's the money that they look at. And still there are many who are not aware of NPS or APY. Sir, in a very layman language, how would you like to explain them about this scheme? Because a general question for a lot of our viewers would be, how do I enroll into it?
Yeah, it's a very good question, I believe, and a lot of people are looking for these answers. So let me start by telling you that now all online onboarding processes are on, and today the opening account through eNPS, as we call it, through the website, it's very easy. It takes just about 5 minutes time, just about 5 minutes time. Then the processing absolutely is seamless. There is no problem in doing that. Talking about NPS, the big change that NPS has brought from that old pension scheme is it's a defined contribution scheme. As a subscriber, you decide how much you want to contribute, when you want to contribute, and if you want to change the contribution pattern from year on year basis, depending on the cash flow that you are having in hands, so you are free to do that. And what Mr. Navlani has rightly said, it is possibly one of the most cost efficient financial products, not only in India, in the world. We made a calculation that if somebody is opening through online process without going through a distribution partner, the yearly cost, we call it equivalent annual fee, EAF, it comes to little over 6 paise. That means you give me, in a very simple layman's term, 100 rupee to invest. On a yearly basis, I take out only 6 paise to meet all my expenses. That includes fund manager's charge, account maintenance charge, transaction cost, everything it is taken care of. And if you take a distribution partner's help, it may be 8 paise. So who gives? And it is not a basically index kind of a fund or any kind of a easy fund to manage. You have your own choice. You have a mix and match as to how much particular asset class that you want to have in your particular investment, and it goes up to say 75% in equity. a 75% equity oriented fund on online coming at 6 paise, you tell me who gives. And in fact, we have checked with the International Organization of Pension Supervisors. We sent our calculations and told that, can you do something on that? They told us very clearly, see, you are an outlier. And if I take your calculations into the process, my entire calculation goes astray. So that is this thing. And next lowest fund manager we have checked from different countries is coming to around, say, 2% cost. So there is no comparison. It's very flexible. As I said, that today you start with as less as 1,000 rupees a year. Thereafter, as you go forward, as you rise in your career, you can contribute more.
Absolutely. Mr. Singh, I would like to ask you basically, how is SAIL promoting retirement planning through NPS, and also, how many retirement schemes in SAIL does an employee have to select?
See, on retirement, an employee gets few things. One is he gets his provident fund, he gets his gratuity, and then it is allowed to encash their leave, which is there in their account. And then we also provide medical coverage to the employees. Then when it comes to pension, we are there in EPS 95. We have our own pension scheme, that is, we called it Superannuation Benefit Scheme. And then this NPS is there. And in NPS, actually, if somebody is not opting for NPS, then he will leave the money in our corpus and it will be managed by my people. So how we are promoting NPS, if you see, last year itself, earlier the contribution of pension from the company was from 6 to 9%, and majority of the people were at 6%. We have some 60,000 employees, out of which 10,000 are officers category and 50,000 are non-executive category. So for them also we have pegged it up to 9%. So it's a big jump. And there we have got a trust where officers are there, our employees are there, and they take the decision regarding how we are going to manage the fund. And there we decided that NPS is the best option. And people are allowed to choose optionally whether they are going to go for NPS or any other scheme.
Absolutely. Mr. Kumar, now the question comes to you, sir, that there are different kinds of pension plans that we see in the market. According to you, sir, which are the ones that can actually people opt for?
There are all kind of pension plans, and it's just a matter of calling it. If you any investment plan done for the long term, followed, you can do a SIP in an equity fund or a balanced fund, and if you are committed and disciplined that you won't take the money out for any frivolous reason, and you will try and you will accumulate for your retirement, that's your pension plan. But any other thing being called as a pension plan, only the NPS is the real one. Everything else is, because what do we need in a pension plan for it to be extremely beneficial? One is, it's a long-term product. The accumulation phase is the longest, and the lowest expense is everything else being equal. Assuming investment performance is equal, assuming investment performance on various asset classes, the way you combine it can vary. That is entirely in your control. Going by the flexibility, tax efficiency, liquidity, and everything else being equal, cost is the only determinant. In fact, what Mr. Bandopadhyay said, that we might be the cheapest and an outlier in the world. In fact, that is the only concern I have, that it is so cheap that it is too good to be true. And that actually worries me a little bit, that the people managing it, how do we sustain their interest? Is it worthwhile for them to be doing it? But more importantly, what you are saying, what you're asking, that the different segment of people, formal sector, somebody who is working in SAIL and is an officer, working in SAIL and he is actually a shop floor worker, they need to be dealt with differently. Their needs will be different. Their but India, the promise of NPS is completely different on a different segment, which is a large informal sector. My mates at home, the drivers working, the carpenters working, they have their seasonal income. they are all on their own. There's a large entrepreneurial population. They need to be really taken care of. Atal Pension Yojana is one thing, or the predecessor of it, you know, the Swavalamban or whatever, you know, we have had 3 versions of that. But, you know, more importantly, what has happened with this digital India stack that has happened is that when you have this vegetable vendor who is taking the payment by UPI, then why he should not be making his payment on for his NPS? And how do we make it easier? And the biggest concern which all these people have is it can democratize savings and investment for retirement.
So on this note, all I would like to say in the end here is that start early, sir. Even if you start with a small amount, do that. Digitization plays a very, very important role, and your organizations are always there to support you, to help you, and also provide you with options like NPS for your future investments. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me into this conversation. And on that note, all I would like to say is that I'm sure these important ideas and wonderful piece of knowledge will definitely be very helpful for your viewers, our viewers, and will help them to plan a better and comfortable retirement. Thanks for watching.